All right, welcome everybody. I'm Wes Warren. I'm here with Greg Stanley, and we're going to talk about something today that, if you're in the consulting world, if you're in the coaching corner, if you will, on practice management, this is something that we all get concerned about. And we call it early warning stats, things that pop out on the page when we get stat reports from an office that are early indicators of serious problems in the practice that a lot of times are tricky to see, because sometimes the numbers actually look really good for a period. But, when you look out further, 3 months, 2 months, sometimes it can be 6 months, the doom is actually written in stone that it's going to happen. And so we want to cover some of these things, some of these statistics, what they mean, how to identify them. And really, it's a point of don't make these mistakes. So Greg, what's one of the first ones you think of when you think of these stats?
Well, I got a couple here, but I just want to add something to what you said. Once someone has taken us on in consulting, and they're kind of trusting us to guide their practice from day to day, we don't want things to go bad under our watch.
Yeah.
So we're looking for things that can go wrong, or that will tell us something's going to go wrong before it happens. Kind of the early warning system. All right, let's take a look at some of these, because like I said, some of you are happy if you can make it to the next payroll, pay your rent, pay your overhead, hey, we're okay. Yeah, but there might be something that a more knowledgeable oversight would say, no, you're headed for the cliff. So let's look at the first one, drop in new patients. Now, most doctors would see a drop in new patients as problematic. However, some people who see their new patients drop also see their production stay the same, and it hides the problem. They're not putting new people into their production funnel. So new patients go down and they go, well, that's okay. I'm still doing good. And you will still do good until you do all the dentistry on those people who stayed in the practice. But now you don't have anybody new, and the price you're going to pay to pull this practice back on the tracks is pretty high. So that's one that I really look out for. New patients down, but no drop in production. A lot of times that indicates that they were actually short of capacity to harvest all the dentistry that was in play to begin with. Meaning if they had had another chair, another staff person, maybe even another doctor or somebody at the front desk, another assistant, they might have been doing more all the time.
Right.
Okay, so let's look at the other side of this. New patients go up. A lot of times it comes from marketing. They go, I've heard about some new digital marketing, and I got this guy, he's 14 years old, he's a whiz kid, and that's usually the profile, by the way. And he makes the phone ring. And we see 20 more new patients a month than we had before. So new patients are up, but there's no growth.
Right.
In other words, we didn't see production go up. Can you comment on that, Wes? When you see new patients increase and production doesn't increase, what's going on in your mind?
Well, obviously it could be a number of things, but usually it's like you said, it's marketing based is why the numbers or why the new patients quickly went up. So usually it's something that's dramatic in a short period of time. And really the effectiveness of the office in handling marketing patients is extremely low. And so you can see that new patient really spike up, but really yield almost nothing. I mean, a lot of our dentists have went out and spent a lot of money on marketing, and some of them actually got the new patients to realize, hey, these aren't the same patients I'm used to, and I can't produce off of them. I mean, they gum up the works, and we get nothing out of them, almost nothing. And so then they just shut it off.
At Whitehall, we have to deliver different levels of expertise to marketing patients. One is if a doctor has never really dealt with a lot of marketing patients. Number two, if the doctor has, but then adds an associate doctor, that's even another level of expertise that has to be mastered.
Yeah, so just because you lost on patients doesn't mean that it's a lost cause. In other words, there are things you can fix to change that outcome. These patients were looking for a dentist. They have teeth and they will get dentistry done by somebody. It just happened to not be you because usually some kind of error in how you integrate them into your practice. And so that just has to be smoothed out.
Yeah, I think something you said is very profound, that marketing patients aren't the ones you're used to. Some of the ones you're used to have been in the practice 10 years or longer,
Yeah.
and they make it easy for you. They're like fish that jump in the boat. You don't have to hook them. So now let's talk about hygiene statistics that are early warning stats. You've brought on a new hygienist, maybe to replace an older hygienist that left. And she was there a while, but the new hygienist, we're starting to see people not rescheduling. There's openings in the schedule. In other words, and as we talk about early warning stats, nothing is worse than looking up and realizing you've gone 3 months of bad hygiene recruitment, meaning you got all these openings that are headed your way.
Yeah.
And it's almost too late. I mean, it was kind of the phenomenon that came out of COVID.
Yeah, you had a month there, a lot of practices, month and a half, even 2 months with just an opening that appears every 6 months. It's
Now on.
yeah, and smoothing that out is also a challenge. Uh, but yeah, having openings in hygiene, if hygiene coordination and the recall system leads to too many openings, you're going to hurt. The practice is going to hurt. So, and I'll give you a statistic. Just you've got to be somewhere around 5% openings on 20 hygiene appointments. You should look for maybe one that ends up being open at the end of when you evaluate those 20. So if it takes you 2 days to see 20 patients, you should have one opening. Anything above that, at 10%, we're a little cautiously worried. We're looking at anything above that, 15, 20%, it's a problem. And if that just immediately happens to you, you're going to pay down the road restoratively, as the pipeline kind of dries up. You're going to be looking at a slow restorative schedule in 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Yeah, and staff you've hired, including associates, all of a sudden are standing around. So
Right.
this idea of early warning statistics, let's face it, some of the statistics are easy to recover from, and some of them, you better spot them before they get you. You better spot them as soon as the warning comes up. Let me give you an example. It's the old mother-in-law joke. Hey, your mother-in-law, she just went over a cliff. Yeah, in your new Ferrari. Oh no, it's the good news and the bad news. And here it is. Got a new hygienist. She's a firecracker, man. She's doing $300 an hour. I've heard this, Wes, so often.
Right.
And I just cringe. And some people that are kind of attuned will say, Greg, why did you just cringe? Or why did you puke? Or why did you wince? Because when somebody comes in and starts getting 2 or 3 times from hygiene patients what they're used to paying out, the cost down the road is devastating to the entire practice.
For the restorative side and retention too. Yeah, those patients don't retain. And Greg, that's one of those things that doesn't show up for 6 months. It takes a full 6 months to know we really messed up.
Yeah, if you saw your hygienist escort people to the front desk, and instead of rescheduling, they set them on fire, doused them with a flammable and set them on fire, you'd say, this probably isn't going to end well.
Yeah.
You can kind of see that happening when they push all kind of products and services other than restorative dentistry down patients' throats. They're pushing everybody to get a full mouth, deep scaling, even though you don't see it when you go in there.
And just because somebody buys something doesn't mean they really like the whole process. Everybody's bought something, they were coerced, they felt obligated, they felt pressured. And at the end of it, they kind of had, you might say buyer's remorse or something like that. And that's what you don't want to have happening in your office, where your patients feel that way leaving.
You know, Wes, I go to Jiffy Lube to get my car serviced. And if I went to Toyota, it would be free. But they pitch me for a membership that costs $300, which I can't even figure out what it's supposed to cover. If I'm already getting free service, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So I finally just got so tired of telling the people no over and over again. I just go somewhere else and pay a small amount and get my car serviced.
And that's exactly what you don't want to have happening in
Yeah,
your
it can
office.
happen in your own dental office. Now,
Right.
like I said, it's the mother-in-law over the cliff in the Ferrari because
She's producing.
you've had
Yeah.
hygiene going in your office for 20 years, and you've always thought that it really didn't make a lot, or maybe didn't make anything. But all of a sudden, this person gets here and is making money hand over fist. Your schedule is drying up. You can't produce, but finally, hygiene came to life. And you just hear the angels sing. It's wonderful, but it's really not. It's the best early warning stat that's
Right.
ever come across our desk.
So, and it can have an immediate effect on your own schedule. So imagine you're a patient in your own office and your new hygienist just sold you a bunch of junk. I say junk, but a bunch of stuff. And then you come walking in saying you need a crown. And you go, no, I think I'm going to hold off on that. It can impact your side right away. The next one on the list, Greg, is referrals, a drop in referrals. So we talk new patients, but a lot of times, and we say referrals, that's patient to patient referrals. So a lot of times you can have new patients kind of stay the same, but referrals go away, the source, and they get, marketing patients kind of fill them in, but referrals are drying up. This, I'll tell you, is one of the things that we always look at Whitehall is the practice referral rate. And is it going up, or is it going down, or is it staying the same? And when that number starts to go down, it is early warning sign. It's DEFCON 5. I mean, it's something is making people not happy with the process.
First thing I would do, I say, is anybody new at the front desk?
Yeah, you go through all the different personnel changes. And remember that the vast majority of patient-to-patient referrals are new patients. They're going to be people that you just saw referring their husband or wife 3 or 4, 5, 6 weeks later. And so you got to look at what has changed in the office to make that dry up. So like you said, the encounter at the front desk. Did we get a new hygienist? Are they going through the assisting side? Did we get a new assistant? Are they seeing somebody new there? Do we make some kind of change in the practice? And if you're tracking this number, if it shears off pretty fast, that means you made a massive change typically to make that number drop. If it drops slowly over time, usually it's capacity issues, meaning you're frustrating people.
I'll tell you something else we see and kind of shocked by is how many doctors really don't keep track of this number.
Yeah.
Referral trending. If referrals, we ask them, how are your referrals doing? It they don't know, and there's nowhere to find out. They haven't been tracking it. And like I said, there's probably not a better early warning stat. That one tells you people aren't leaving as happy as they used to be.
Yeah.
A patient that leaves satisfied will refer you if somebody asks them about you. But to get them to go tell people about you, they got to be pretty stoked.
Right. When this number dries up or changes significantly, it's one of the big ones.
Yeah.
This is one that can be set your practice back and just.
Can I tell you one that we have kind of isolated as meaningful is when the case size of what we're recommending and closing with patients goes up and referrals go down. A lot of times people conclude, we've learned this the hard way, they conclude this is good dentistry, but they don't think other people they know could afford it.
Yeah, there's a direct correlation in a lot of practices. You can, if we were to, it's not always accurate, but it's definitely, if you plotted it on a graph, you would see as case size goes up, the referral rate will go down as a general rule.
And if people can beat that and see case size and referrals go up, and we have people that do this, they are worth studying,
Yeah.
worth learning from.
But when you see all of a sudden you get excited about new treatment, you get, you went to some institute, got some new training, and you go back and really want to impress everybody and show everybody what you've learned, you can have a reverse impact on referrals. You can see your case average go up, but you can also see referrals go down for the reason, like you said, Craig. People go home and say, I get it. I understand it. I get why I need this. They made it clear to me, but I'm having a hard time explaining it to my neighbor.
What happens is you explain it to your neighbor, they ask you how much it costs, and you say $7,000, and the neighbor says, that's too much, even
Right.
though that might be the cheapest set of crowns if you added, but they're added
Right.
up.
Right.
You brought something up. You come home from a convention and, you've been doing dentistry for 30 years. And, you just have to work pretty darn hard for it to be profitable. Staff always wanting more money. The landlord wants more money. Cost of just about everything goes up. And somebody gets up and says, I was just like you. I was working so hard. I just wasn't making any money till I started doing, and you fill that in, TMJ or whatever. And so people come in, maybe even from your old marketing or from referrals, thinking you're just like a regular dentist, and they get some new hotness, some new thing pitched at them, and they're almost confused. I thought I have pain in this tooth, and you're telling me that's not even the problem. It's the occlusion. It's and patients leave thinking, wow, I'm not in the right place. And so if you make these changes, if you are going to do things like that, I had a doctor and a partner come home and say they went to some really high-end dental institute and came back and said, I'm sick of bread and butter, not doing it anymore. People are going to buy the whole enchilada, or I'm not going to treat them. Mm-hmm. He was out of practice in about 5 months. And, to hear him talk, certainly toward the end, he was still okay with that. But, I don't know how he liked driving Uber, but so keep in mind, sometimes you just need a vacation. You don't need to change your whole persona.
And these other things that you're talking about, these sleep apnea, TMJ, occlusion stuff, you can get excited about and stuff, but it really takes a whole different approach than just family dentistry. There's a lot into making those things work.
It's not nice just flow.
Yeah, you got to get patients that are attracted to the practice, actually looking for that type of dentistry. It's a whole different approach to practice. And so you just adding it in, at the Subway shop at the end of this, when you go, okay, I want lettuce, tomatoes. Oh, do you want a Ferrari with that? You're not going to sell many.
T-bone steak.
Yeah, it's all part of the package of what you build and the people that you bring to the practice. So right. you can't just, a lot of these things you can't just add and think you're going to get great results, and it can be bad.
If anybody listening would like us to look at their statistics and see if we spot anything, and like I said, it's what we do for a living.
Yeah.
And when we're coaching somebody, our job is to stay ahead of the curve. Otherwise, they always ask, what am I paying you for? If here I am 6 months into this coaching relationship and my new patients are down for reasons that could have been prevented. Yeah, so if you want to talk to us and have us look at your numbers, we'd be glad to do that.
Absolutely. If anybody wants to call, feel free. We do take a few phone calls a week for people just inquiring about their practice, wanting to know what these things mean with their statistics. we'll give you our honest assessment and we'll point you in a direction free of charge. We're glad to do it.
Please expect that we'll be asking you about statistics, so have a few available. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.